I will request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir of Pravra Institute of Medical Sciences deemed to be university to present the introduction and overview of National Education Policy 2020. Over to you, Jairas sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pakle sir. Once again, warm welcome to all the dignitaries of the webinar and our mentor and all the delegates, my staff members and colleagues. First of all, my salutations to our visionary founder leaders, Padma Shri Dr. Vital Rao V.K. Patil ji and Padma Bhushan Dr. Balasaheb V.K. Patil ji, who have developed a national model of Pravra Loni model for sustainable development at a rural place like Loni, which is giving higher education and professional education of global level. I also take this opportunity to recognize the gracious presence of Dr. Rajendra V.K. Patil sir, our mentor, Dr. Snehalata Deshmukh madam as the chairperson of the webinar, and Dr. Chandrasekhar Shetty sir, who will be addressing us, Dr. Savji sir, Dr. Deka sir, and all the other vice chancellors and my fellow colleagues and delegates. I would like to take this opportunity to present an overview of the National Education Policy 2020 for the next 15 minutes. As you are aware that you have come through a long journey of around 70 years from 1948 to 49, when Radhakrishnan's committee was the first committee report that was available for independent India to shape the independent education policy. Then the later important development was Education Commission under Dr. D.S. Kothari, which defined the higher education and primary education in terms of 10 plus 2 plus 3 concept. Then came the National Policy on Education 1986, where along with access, equity, relevance and social justice, quality as a dimension was added. Then came to 34 years, Dr. K. Kasturirangan Committee report, which has now been accepted by Government of India as National Policy of Higher Education 2000, National Policy of Education 2020, and we are having this webinar to discuss on that. Friends, as you know, that we are using the word not reform but transformation for a simple reason that this particular policy is going to have a sweeping reforms and reformation and transformation of higher education and also primary education. And I would like to tell in the beginning itself that we are concentrating on the higher education and professional education in this particular webinar, and will not be discussing about the importance of NEP 2020 on school education. We'll be taking that sometime later. And this particular National Education Policy 2020 is aimed at transforming higher education with special reference to 21st century needs and Internet Revolution 4 and Sustainable Development Goal number 4 as per UN UNESCO. One of the major transformation which has already been notified by Government of India 2 days back is renaming of MHRD as Ministry of Education, Government of India. In fact, you have to cast from 2 days onwards, from since 2 days, that it is Ministry of Education, not MHRD. Then emphasis to holistic global quality education and multidisciplinary approach. As I told you, access, equity, social justice and relevance were the cardinal principles of the first report. Quality was the National Education Policy in 1986, and now 2 more dimensions have been added, namely creativity and innovation and flexibility. Then the important transformation will be institutional autonomy at all levels, commencing from colleges till the universities. Participation of government, public, private, partnership as well as private ones, as well as foreign universities. For the first time, Indian government will be opening its doors for the foreign universities to come. And enhancement of expenditure of GDP from 4% to 6%. At present, it is around 4%. They would like to take it up to 6% in the next few years. Then the gross enrollment ratio for higher education at present is 26.5%. They would like to take it to 50% by 2035, and so that 3.5 crores of students will be coming back to the higher education fold. Then the important milestones of this particular NEP is the restructuring of higher education, a paradigm shift. I'll be discussing about it. The international higher education, Dr. Rekha sir will be discussing about it. Thrust to research, then functional transformation of higher education and use of technology, and separation of powers and functions. The structural reformation or the transformation is that superseding all the existing superior and superlative regulatory bodies, a new body has been created called Higher Education Commission of India that is going to control all the spheres of higher education in India. And it has got 4 vertices. The 4 vertices are, all of them are new. One is the regulatory vertice, another is called an accreditation vertice, another is the grants vertice, and another is the graduate attributes vertice. And all of them have been given a specific name. The first, the regulatory authority is called National Higher Education Regulatory Council. And this will be the apex body as far as the regulation is concerned for all the aspects of higher education in India, except for medical and legal. We'll be discussing it at a stage. Then the accreditation. Now we have got NAC, but they will be suggesting National Accreditation Council, where they will be taking care of the accreditation of the entire Indian institutions of higher education with the help of various agencies of assessment accreditation throughout the Indian scenario. The third one is the grants, which will be controlled by Higher Education Grants Council, which will be replacing the UGC, and it is meant only for financial assistance. And the last one is to realize the graduate attributes and to set the standards in curriculum design development and learning objectives and outcome is General Education Council, and it will be ably assisted by National Higher Education Quality Framework and National Skill Quality Framework. Now, if these are the new bodies, what will be the fate or status of the existing bodies? It is to be converted as Higher Education Governing Grant Commission without any regulatory powers, only with the financial powers to give. The existing council like ICAR, Veterinary Council of India, NCTE, COA, and others, and even ACT will be converted as National Professional Standard Setting Bodies or PSSB, and they will not be regulatory bodies, but they will be invited to General Education Council for curriculum design development and learning objectives and graduate attributes, along with National Higher Education Quality Framework and National Skill Quality Framework. But there is no clarity in the NEP on clarity on DCI, INC, and PCI. But many of the experts presume that either they will be coming under HEGC, coming under Higher Education Regulatory Council, or they may be part of the medical sector. We are not clear. Probably we have to wait for a few more days. Then National Medical Council and Bar Council of India will be continued as regulatory bodies under Higher Education Commission of India. Then strengthening of Central Advisory Board of Education is one of the major reforms. Then coming to the institutional restructuring, this is a very, very important milestone. There will be no scope for monofaculty universities and colleges. Henceforth, there will be no, by 2030, there will be only large multi-faculty disciplinary institutions or universities and colleges. And each institution is expected to have 3,000 plus students and 300 plus staff members. And this is expected to be realized by 2030. In other words, there will be no monofaculty or standalone colleges or universities. And nomenclature will be only one, namely university. There will be no prefix of deemed to be university or suffix or affiliating university or unitary university. This is one of the important development. Then what the NEP envisages is there are around 40,000 plus colleges and around 1,000 plus universities. They would like to have only around 15,000 multidisciplinary institutions so that it is easy to control and regulate at all India level. Then next reformation or transformation in the higher education restructuring is creation of higher education clusters or knowledge hubs. This is a very important word that I have used. Higher education clusters or knowledge hubs. And there are 3 types of institutions henceforth. There will be a teaching university with emphasis on teaching only. Research is subsidiary. And research university, which is called as MERU, Multidisciplinary Education Research University. This is meant mainly for research, but it may also take subsidiarily the teaching. Then abolition of affiliation system by 2035. This is one of the major transformational paradigm shift, because Asian subcontinent, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and a few others were the only countries in the world which are having the affiliating system, though British have already left it. So this is one of the important movement for the higher education. There will be no affiliated colleges, but there will be only constituent colleges under the cluster concept. Then there will be graded autonomy to existing colleges based on accreditation. In other words, accreditation is going to be a pivotal point to decide which college is going to become an autonomous college or a degree awarding college or a university. Then coming to international higher education, Dr. Dekar will be throwing much light on it. I can only say a few points, namely, there is for the first time, Government of India has opened its doors to foreign universities to establish their campuses in India. They say well-reputed first 100 universities will be permitted to come to India. But we are not sure how many will come, but it is a very important move. Then India will be a global education destination, and the foreign students will be permitted to come to India and study and vice versa. And one more important paradigm shift and introduction is creation of academic bank of credits for credit transfer. Probably, I don't know how it works in medical education, but definitely in liberal education, it works. And it will give a concept of study anywhere, anytime with a flexible curriculum and flexible time frame and twinning program. Then there is a promotion of open distance and digital learning and blending of it with traditional education. May I request the delegates to mute their speakers, please? Then uh, creation and strengthening of campuses for global education so that foreign students can come to India and study here. Then MOUs of international level for academics, research and extension will be promoted. University centers for international education is going to be ordered wherever the universities are selected to give global education. Then coming to quality academic research, very important paradigm development is a creation of National Research Foundation, first of its kind, autonomous body, a statutory body for promotion, funding and regulation of research in India. And they are proposing an initial budget of rupees 20,000 crores for this particular year. And to enhance investment in research and development. As you know, in India, for research, only 0.7% of the GDP is given, but in USA it's 2.8%, Israel 4.3%, and South Korea 4.8%. So India would like to cross minimum 1 to 2% in this particular endeavor. Then robust ecosystem for research and innovations. Already we've got number of innovation centers throughout India. So creation of national international facilities at government level, semi-government level, and private-public partnership level and private market. The thrust to need-based research, national and rural development and sustainable development. As I told you, the UNO's Sustainable Development Goal 4 will be the aim of National Education Policy 2020. And the thrust will be on health, agriculture, food, shelter, transport, education, trade, commerce, IT, BT, and then the nanotechnology and energy, with special reference to India. And research is also expected on Indian resource heritage and natural and human resource development. And the present research funding agencies like ICMR, ICAR, DST, DBT, etc., are likely to continue to give funds for their own field of research. Coming to this is a very important component for private institutions. There is a total encouragement for private-public partnership and private participation in Indian higher education scenario. And they are going to simplify the procedure for establishment of private institutions through a single window system, through online submission of data and so on. And then boost to private-public model and private model for higher education especially. Then emphasis to good governance, financial stability and probity, security, transparency, accountability, public disclosure and grievance redressal. Then the policy says inspection will be replaced by self-open disclosure with checks and balances at timely intervals. Then broad regulatory framework. This is a very, very important component. Broad regulatory framework, for academic, administration and finance aspects. And the unique feature is there will be common regulations and norms for government, semi-government, private and public private partnership universities. At present, we have got different regulations for government, semi-government, private and private public and various other agencies. They are suggesting common regulation. This is the most welcoming sign. Then coming to the challenges that the private universities are likely to face. No doubt, no, there will be no commercialization, no profit basis, but there will be transparent fee structure and based on open disclosure. And the highlight is the universities will be having power to fix their fee structure, but will be subjected to regulations. Probably they are going to give a ceiling of upper limit, and there is likelihood of giving dual fee structure as NMC has already envisaged. Then there is likelihood of progressive regime of free determination based on accreditation. This is also a very welcoming sign that they are honoring the Supreme Court ruling that private universities do have the power to fix their own fees. Then independent board of governors for all the institutions is one of the major recommendations of NEP. And coming to paradigm shift, many of the people are under the impression that this paradigm shift is applicable to all the fields of higher education. But I would like to say that this is applicable to liberal education for a simple reason. 75% of the student clientele in India are in liberal education sector. Remaining 20% are in sector, and only around 5% are in medical and paramedical sector. That is the reason why they are giving this particular policy, and they are not touching any aspect regarding the technical as well as professional education. UG program of BSc will be 3 years or 4 years with lateral entry and exit. 3 years will be called as general university, general degree. 4 years is called honors program with research component. PG program will be 1 year for UG honorary degree or 2 years for UG general degree. And if it is integrated UG PG, it will be 5 years. Then very important paradigm shift is at present B.Ed and M.Ed were on standalone colleges independent of the arts, science, commerce colleges. But now the report says that B.Ed will be integrated with present BA BSc structure with 4 years integrated program. But at the same time, for the benefit of those who already completed degrees, B.Ed will be independent with 1 year or 2 years depending upon whether the person has completed 3 years degree or 4 years degree or postgraduate program. MPhil, the degree which was under a lot of debate, is going to be abolished, but PhD program is going to be continued, but with a rider. Hence, for those who are going to register for PhD, we should become teaching assistants in the university where they teach, apart from taking research, so that they will become a would-be teacher, because they are going to be groomed as both teacher as well as the researcher. Then study anywhere, anytime, as I already told you, and the blend of higher education with vocational education. This is one of the important paradigm shift. Higher education will be merged with the vocational education with multiple entry, multiple exit point. And the concept of major and minor, which was there in the beginning years, is going to come back again with the major component, which will lead to a degree as well as postgraduate degree, with minor component where it is based on the student's interest, based on multi-faculty, multidisciplinary approach. And curriculum will be under choice-based credit system and a flexible system. What is envisaged is an integrated holistic choice of subjects, not only just STEM or arts, but it will be a combination of arts, science, commerce, management, science, technology, engineering, medicine, and all other subjects, plus vocational subjects and super specialities. Then this is with special reference to professional education. Henceforth, there will be no standalone professional college or professional institutions. Dr. Shetty sir will be telling more about it. No standalone professional universities also. They must all become multi-faculty, multidisciplinary universities and colleges, autonomous or constituent by 2030. In other words, by 2030, you will not be having any unidisciplinary or monodisciplinary or monofaculty college or the university. They must all diverse and start offering diverse programs and have diverse departments and subjects by 2030. So 10 years is the leverage that is given by the NEP for us to adopt to this particular thing. And health professional education, there is a suggestion that it should include diverse paths as an addendum so that they will know what is good of all the paths. Then, as I already told you, National Medical Commission is going to continue. Status of DCI, INC and PCA is not clear, and all other councils which were regulatory bodies earlier will become national professional standard setting bodies, which will be setting the standards for the curriculum design, development and graduate attributes. Then use of technology. One of the major development of this national education policy is establishment of National Education Technology Forum. an autonomous body on development of IT tools, infrastructure, software for higher education. Probably through this, we may get common software and common tools certified by Government of India at all the institutions, so that we will not be in a position to accept which the outdated ones or the other ones. And then establishment of National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education along with higher education. The National Digital Repositories. As we already know, earlier private bodies were given the contract, now it has been abolished, and Government of India itself has started National Digital Repositories free of cost both for the institution as well as the students. Realizing the importance of open distance learning, national virtual laboratories is going to be a reality. And the emphasis on disruptive technology. Disruptive technology is a buzzword for industrial technology, Industrial Revolution 4. So that is going to be a part of it. Artificial intelligence, machine language, and various other 3D, etc., is going to be the order of the day, whether it is liberal education, or professional education, or technical education. And usage of technology will be definitely there at all levels, and software for Divyangs and e-content for regional languages, and then digitally equipped schools, colleges, teachers, and students. Yeah, next. And there is emphasis on Indian knowledge systems also, and it is through establishment of Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation, and there will be emphasis to history, art, architecture, etc. Next slide. And then establishment strengthening of academies, adult and continuing education, restructuring of teacher education. This is a very important thing, as I told you already. And vocational education will be part and parcel of the education. Even professional education, vocational education, and higher education, all of them will be integrated in such a way that skill and competence and attitude will become the primary focus of education along with knowledge. Then other features are recruitment policy. Yesterday itself, Government of India has already announced National Recruitment Commission with 1,500 crores, where there will be a single entrance test for anyone who would like to get into an employment. Similarly, they are going to have a single entrance test for all the professional as well as undergraduate, postgraduate, and non-professional programs. Then national mission mentoring. This is a very, very important component where retired teachers, experts, even from industry and academia who are not in the teaching profession can also become mentors, and they can register themselves and their expertise will be used as teachers. Then independent board of governors, as I already told you. Then I don't want to go into the details, but the discussion on the national education policy will be incomplete without at least telling one sentence about school education. We are all grouped into 10+2 of Kothari Commission's report. Namely, up to 10 is the primary, secondary, and +2 is intermediate. Now, this entire thing is going to be converted into 5+3+3+4, where a very important component is the inclusion of the children of 3 to 5 years, 6 years age at foundation level with first and second standard. This is a very important component, and intermediate stage is merged with secondary stage. So it will be 4 years, the 2 intermediate years will be added. So this is the paradigm shift in the primary and secondary education. Probably we'll have one more webinar on the discussing about the importance of the reforms in school education. Then what next? The next point is implementation. Let me tell you, already Government of India has started initiating one by one. The name has already been changed. Number of 2-3 commissions have already been announced and funds have been allotted. So plan of action, timeline for implementation. Though they say by 2030 you are going to achieve something, but from today itself the strings have started moving. Functional transformations are possible wherever they are already existing within the existing structure. When the realignment of functions will take place. Structural transformation may take 1 or 2 years because it requires new acts, new statutes, regulations, and rules. And reallotment of specified funds is a must because UGC is going to be non-functional. It will become a granting body. Fresh allotment to National Research Foundation and Technology Forum. And coordination between center, state, as well as private-public participation module. Friends, we are in 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi ji. This National Education Policy 2020 is a very befitting tribute to the Mahatma, the leader of our independent nation, who always said that education should give address to three important H. Education to head, namely knowledge; education to hand, namely skills and competencies; and education to heart, namely values and empathy and compassion. With these few words, let me tell you what I have given you is a bird's eye view of what NEP is. And Keats, in a Ode on a Grecian urn, very clearly stated, heard melodies are sweet, unheard melodies are sweeter. Probably what you have not heard, which is likely to come, will be more sweeter. With these few words, with the overall view, I thank all the delegates as well as the experts and chairperson of the webinar and our mentor for having given me this opportunity to share my thoughts. Friends, now